There is another question there, and just Marcos on the
I feel the responsibility to respond because I was the one, that I appreciate you a lot, that, Marco, and second, because I was the one, talking about dreams. And I'm going to share quickly something that I think I've never shared before. It's written on a book that I'm about to publish, that is talking about my personal experience. But I remember, at the end of 2021, I was sitting alone. Alone means alone. I was basically alone in the US because I spent a lot of years alone. To be honest, yeah, working all day, Monday to Sunday. And I was alone one more night. It was the end of the year. And I read a lot, too. I get inspired. To be able to inspire others, you got to get inspired yourself. And it's not always easy, Like, you got to generate or regenerate yourself, like find something that is making you happy, fuel yourself with something and so on. So I read a lot, right? And I have a good friend that wrote a book, like it's now published in more than 50 languages. I don't know how many copies, millions of copies, right? And he was telling me, Marcos, you got to be able to imagine yourself in a situation that you cannot see now with the parameters that you have around. So please do this exercise. Try to sit down and try to imagine that there's no limits around. So try to be able to think like without any parameters that you can see now, because this is what is limiting our mind, right? What you cannot see cannot be imagined, but it's exactly the opposite. You can imagine something that is way bigger than what you can see around now. So I did the exercise, right? I put myself alone in there. I put in front of my laptop, and I start writing things. I said, like, hey, if I could dream, the life of my dream, I could say, like, wow, I'm not going to share what I put in there, because that was very personal, but I said, like, I took a lot of time saying, oh, this is the money that wow, man, it's impossible in my life that I can make this money, right? Like, no way. Oh, if I could do this and this and that, I'm finding this woman for my life and doing this and blah, and having this relationship with my colleagues and achieving these goals or whatever. And I wrote that, with details. The important thing for me is that you got to put details, because that is where the magic is happening. You put the universe to work. Saying, I want to be happy. Well, what the hell it means? I want to be happy is different for you than for me, right? So try to go concrete and put something there. Anyway, long story short, what happened to me is 2024, end of 2024, I'm still having goosebumps, because of what happened. So 2024, I said, you know what, like, I'm stronger than ever now. I'm going to go do that again. I'm becoming emotional, because obviously in the same sheet of that spreadsheet that I had, when I opened the sheet for 2024, I had the sheet of 2021. So I took the time, to say, like, wow, I really want to see, what I put in there. I was amazed. I was amazed that most of the things that I put on that list that I didn't even remember in 2021, everything was accomplished, Marco. 90% of the things that I put in there in 2021, that was like something like, hey, dream big, this is not going to happen. But I was alone. I didn't need to have any explanation to anyone. It was basically me in my kitchen, writing alone. Who cares? I'm going to put this and dream big and say, oh. And man, 3 years later, I was like reading line by line, thinking, what the hell is this? Is this magical? Well, it's not magic. What I say is, like, you put, your obviously your universe to work, and I'm not going to say that this is for granted. This is not coming. I'm assuming that from 2021 until that point, I was committed with myself, with one direction. But the first thing is self-reflection. I think not everybody, spend the time to think like, hey, if I can design the dream of the life of my dream, what is that? We all tend to go along the way, with the inertia, that we are getting, and who cares? Like, at the end of the day, we'll see. No, we'll see. No, man, you have a responsibility with your own life, and you gotta be the one that is writing that. And I encourage all of you guys to do the same, because it worked for me, and I can tell you that I'm not that special. I'm a very ordinary guy, so if that worked for me, it probably will work for you too.
So, really, thanks so much, Marcos. I'm very sorry, because we have another panel, so I know that you have some questions. But can you launch the question, but then, please, you have time to chat together and to go on directly with all our guests, because now I have to respect this timeline and the agenda. Now we are going to talk about AI solution and tech with some of you the same and others another guest. So I have to respect this timeline. But I'm sure that you have a very interesting, Michele, question for all of you. And we are just switching and leaving the space to my colleague Lorenzo, that perhaps is there.